You are now listening to Rings Kings Boxing World Flash Report.
Shout out to the fam. Appreciate y'all being in this episode of Ring Kings Boxing, man. I'm Big Q in this episode of Ring Kings Boxing. I'm going to talk a little boxing with you guys and a couple of articles. Very interesting, man. And of course, a little something to talk about with the TankDavis Lamont Roach rematch, which is not official, but very interesting to kind of go over it and kind of think about what was going on in the controversial draw here. A lot of people, including myself, just thought that I think Lamont Roach surprised TankDavis. TankDavis had a lot of stuff going on in his corner, a lot of stuff going on with himself. A lot of people saying, even Clarissa Shield mentions that he needs therapy, all kind of stuff. But Lamont Roach came to play. His team had him ready to fight, and he showed out. And I think TankDavis, to a degree, definitely underestimated what Lamont Roach was about. A lot of people thought that Tank would knock Lamont Roach out in between 5 to 7 rounds. And that simply didn't happen. Lamont Roach was robbed, in my opinion. You guys already know that. But anyway, a little something to talk about in this one was that it was due to the WBA lightweight world champion Davis taking a knee in round 9. And that referee Steve Willis did not call it a knockdown. Had he done so, the scores remained the same for the rest of the fight. Roach would have won. Now, of course, that was challenged. And despite the New York State Athletic Commission upholding the official result, both men entered talks for an immediate rematch. Now, what would happen in the rematch? What would you think in the rematch? A lot of people think that TankDavis would then open up a can of whoop ass on Lamont Roach. I'm not too certain. I think it'll be a very interesting fight, but a focused TankDavis should be able to dispatch the likes of Lamont Roach. It'll be an entertaining fight. Let's see what Tim Bradley, he chimed in. Let's see what his thought process was on what happens here. Here's Tim Bradley here. Here we go.
See the same when Gervonta rematches Lamont Roach.
Could be. Yeah, because the styles make fights, man. And obviously Lamont Roach, man, look, anybody that can take a shot and that's tough, bro, and that can take it to Tank, they can beat him. All right. Roach, he mentally tough, had his game plan, was able to execute, was able to march forward in spots. He was able to control a lot of the action, and he put the pressure in. He hits hard enough to get Tank respect. He landed on Tank. He didn't hurt Tank, and he was there. You know what I mean? He was there battling him mentally, talking shit to him and, going back and forth. Like he handled his business. He did exactly what he's supposed to do. He did a great job. Him and his team had him ready. The second time around, look, Tank knows what he brings. Tank knows he's a tough opposition. Tank knows that his style is tough as well. I'm sure Tank's gonna go back to the drawing board and see where they can improve in or improve on. And they're gonna come back and they're gonna put their best foot forward, bro. But look, if this shit don't motivate you, Tank, the fact you got to draw, the fact that you had a big fight lined up with Jake Paul after this, and now you got to wait, and now you got to do this rematch, bro. If this don't motivate you, I don't know what will. You know what I'm saying? Because his name right now is getting drugged through the mud. And all those fans that was on his side, bro, a lot of them are switching teams now. So look, he got a lot to prove, not only to himself, but a lot to prove to his fans and his fan base out there. So he go back in there at his rematch, and he do what he's supposed to do, like he's supposed to do the first time around. Then all the shit that happened in the pad it swept under the rug, because that's just how the fans is and the sport is. And then he moves on to bigger things. I guess Jake Paul's that guy.
All right, that's Tim Bradley, man. His thought process on the TankDavis rematch with Lamont Roach, and Tim Bradley makes some good points, man. That's true. A lot of the family members, not the diehards, we know what type of fighter TankDavis is. We know every now and again you'll have a fight that it's just a part of the sports. As has Tank been doing this thing for a long time now. Every now and again, you kind of lose focus. Things gets a little boring, and then you take a misstep. You have a couple of them, and he should have lost that fight. He should have collected his first loss, and it didn't happen. Now that's the beauty of boxing. You have an opportunity to come back around and correct the wrongs of what happened in the previous fight. So, it's going to be an interesting fight, but I still have TankDavis beating Lamont Roach. No disrespect to Lamont Roach. I just think when a fully focused, well-trained TankDavis will not, you won't beat that guy. So anyway, shout out to the Roach. It's just what it is. All right, let's move on to the y'all. Let me know in the comment section how y'all feel about it. Do you think a fully ready to go Tank against a fully ready to go Lamont Roach, who wins that fight? Comment in the section below. All right, moving on to the next one here, man. This is from Ring Magazine. This is talking about BudCrawford and his matchup coming up with Canelo Alvarez. This is for all of the marbles, and I think, and a lot of people know that eventually, when it's all said and done, BudCrawford against Canelo Alvarez, this is the big money fight that ultimately Bud goes out with. He's going to get it together for one final fight, and I think this is that's it. He's Crawford's 37 years old right now, so he wants to put it together for a big payday fight, and this is going to be fun. So the upcoming opponent and pound for pound great Terrence Crawford agrees that Canelo Alvarez considers himself the face of boxing. He says, "I've been a fan of boxing, a fan of Canelo for years," Crawford told The Ring during an extensive exclusive interview. "I just look at all of these fights as great. Without one, there wouldn't be another. Each fight is defining to take you to the next level. Each champion is a challenge to take you to the next level. I'm not going to dismiss any fighter that he ever fought because of all of them have placed him in the position that he is right now, and that is the face of boxing." He said that during his interview. I'm going to play another interview where he contradicts himself on that, because he does say, none of those fighters are as skilled for me. And he's saying that, but he does discount them to a degree. All signs point to Crawford, who's 41-0 with 31 knockouts, and Alvarez, who's 62-2 with 39 knockouts, meeting for a matchup in a super fight slated for September that could be for the undisputed 168-pound title if Alvarez beats William Skull on May the 3rd. That's coming up. After several agonizing years of waiting to land in meaningful fights, Crawford has landed back-to-back fights to further his legacy. In 2023, Crawford crushed Errol Spence Jr. for a one-sided stoppage win. Errol hadn't been back since. In August, he's become a 4-division title holder by beating Israel Madrimov for the 154 WBA belt he now holds, which was kind of to me, I didn't like that Bud fight. It was not because it was kind of slow or whatnot. I just think they kind of, they didn't quite score the fight correctly. I thought how Madrimov fought, I thought he won a few more rounds than what we've seen, but it is what it is. As people, we always want things, we want them, when we want them, says Crawford, but when it's time, when it's God's, he says, when God lets the light shine on you, I just bought my time and stayed patient and as active as possible and kept winning. I still have a lot of doubters and a lot of hate, but at some time, I just get my just due. It's beautiful. Don't just expect Crawford to take a fight in the interim for the sake of staying busy. I'm just clearly focused on one individual right now, and that's Canelo, and only Canelo, Crawford said. Just train, get my body right, and get used to my weight to this size and get stronger. He recently posted a photo indicating he was 186 pounds. He didn't guarantee the method, but a win is a win only, and that's what he envisions. A victory in Crawford's favor, he said. Come on, man, I'm the best. And he also dropped some game. Terrence Crawford also even dropped some game on how he figures that he can beat Canelo Alvarez and his thought process on the fight between Canelo Alvarez. Take a listen.
I feel I got the speed over Canelo. I got the reach over him. He might got the size, the power. I got the better skills, boxing skills.
Would it be more of a cat and mouse? The reality is Canelo does put people out, from Kirkland to Amir Khan to just...
Don't do
obviously.
I'm just saying, man.
No, but he's not Kovalev.
Kovalev was older. He does. Don't get me wrong. He does have a lot of power, but all those guys that you name is not as skillful as me. I'm sorry. No disrespect to none of those fighters. The skill level is night and day.
So how do you see a fight with Canelo going?
Tough fight. Canelo is a great fighter. Like, I always have respect for Canelo, but I just believe in my skills. The fact that people doubt me, it just fueled me even more. Try to get the fight even more. And I'm watching them, I'm like, man, I can beat this dude. I've been fighting people bigger than me all my life, and I always came out on top. You gonna get hit. It's a fight. He gonna get hit too. It'll be good. I feel like
all right, there go Bud talking. And what say you guys? How do you think the fight plays out between BudCrawford and Canelo Alvarez? Do you agree with Bud? Do you think Bud? He did make a point about him being more skillful than some of those fighters that the host was making mention of. But at the end of the day, Crawford is considered one of the best fighters of the modern of recent years of what he was able to accomplish, and this would be a defining fight if he can be able to beat Canelo Alvarez. Not saying that it can't be done, because Bud's right. Bud does have power. He doesn't have nowhere near Canelo Alvarez power, but he's very slick. He's very he's a very a complicated fighter. I mean, he's very, he does the switch thing where he goes from from orthodox to southpaw. I mean, he does he can fight either way. I mean, he's very smart in the ring. He's just a ring general, and he knows how to fight. And I think in this fight, you'll have a guy like him putting all of that together against Canelo Alvarez, and it'll be an interesting fight, to be honest with you. And he talked about it being a cat and mouse thing, and he's right. He'll hit Canelo, and Canelo will hit him. But even though I think that he'll be able to find Canelo very easily, the thing is, when the fight happens, when it gets to the grind mode of the fight, can Terrence Crawford take the pounding that Canelo Alvarez, the punch power that Canelo Alvarez is going to unleash on him, the body punching, if he can, he'll be able to touch him. And I don't know. It's very him going up to that weight class and fighting Canelo there. And I just don't. I don't know. I do like Bud Crawford's boxing skill. He's a wonderful fighter. I mean, he's very slick, very intelligent in the ring. Like I say, he's a ring general. I'm not saying that Canelo Alvarez couldn't be beaten, because he did. He lost before, and it's just going to be interesting to see how that happens in September, man. We'll just be waiting there. Y'all comment in the section below. Let me know how y'all feel about how Crawford and how this would end up happening, man. This would be very interesting indeed. And of course, the final article we have here is Caleb Plant, Jermall Charlo to co-headline May card in Las Vegas before planned 2025 grudge match. So you have Caleb Plant and Charlo, and y'all remember these two guys had some beef with each other. But Plant and Charlo are headed toward a long-awaited super middleweight grudge match in the latter portion of 2025. But at first, they share a card on May the 31st in Vegas. Plant is set to face Jose Armando Rosendez in a PBC on Prime Video main event, while Charlo is expected to in a 18-month layoff against Thomas Lamana in the night's chief support. Now, Ring Magazine was the first with the news of the doubleheader. Both Plant and Charlo rivalry escalated at a weigh-in for Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence's fight back in July of 2023, where Plant was filmed delivering an open-handed slap to Charlo's face. Plant claimed that Charlo disrespected his marriage and grabbed him by the beard, so he was forced to retaliate. I did see him grabbing Plant by the beard, and that's what Plant did, openly slap his ass. So, Plant, who's 23-2 with 14 kills, previously held the IBF super middleweight title from January 2019 to November of 21 until he lost the 4-belt unification fight against Canelo Alvarez, where he was stopped in the 11th round. Plant's now 32, bounced back with a brutal knockout of Anthony Durrell afterward, but then proceeded to fall short against David Benavidez via decision. In his most recent bout, now Plant had to rise off the canvas to win the WBA interim belt against Trevor McCumbee this past September. Not quite the same fighter, man, as he was before. But speaking of that, Charlo, who's 33-0 with 22 knockouts, a former super welterweight middleweight world champion, has been largely inactive in recent years due to a combination of injuries and well-documented mental health struggles. In Charlo's lone bout over the past 3 years, he won an unimpressive 10-round unanimous decision over Jose Benavidez Jr. on David Benavidez versus Demetrius Andrade undercard in 2023. Now, Mexico's Resendez is 15-2 with 11 knockouts, best known for his upset win over one-time unified super welterweight champion Jarrett Hurd in 2023. Lamana, who's 39-5-1 with 18 kills, was taken out in the open round of his sole title challenge against WBA middleweight champion Israelanda Lara in 2021. Since then, Jersey native has strung together 9 wins on the bounce and now heads into the biggest fight of his career. Plant and Charlo were significant betting favorites against Resendez and LaManna, respectively, in what is expected to be a pair of routine victories for a major pay-per-view clash in 2025. Can Charlo rebound? Plant and Charlo, if they can win their potential cleanup fights, right? We'll see how it goes, man. A lot of people have lost faith in Charlo, the Charlos, period. It's just really something how at one time PBC was running it, man. They had both the Charlo boys was doing their thing. Errol Spence was doing his thing, and boy, did they all fall flat. Errol Spence hasn't been anywhere since, getting dispatched and destroyed by BudCrawford, and the Charlos begin infighting, and they have not been the same, either one of those guys. They've completely, just completely bottomed out. So we'll see if these guys can stay focused and get back to being great as time has moved on. But boy, when you don't fight as much, man, that ring rust builds up on you, skills diminish a bit. And plus, are you fighting for, the love of the sport, for a legacy, or are you just fighting for a check? What's going on here? So anyway, with that being said, y'all comment in the comment section below on Plant and Charlo. What do you guys think about Plant and Charlo, a potential match for those guys coming up later on in this year? Y'all let me know. Anyway, with that being said, y'all comment on all three of these boxing articles we covered today on the stream. Let me know how you feel. Hit the comment section up, man, and I'll be back later on to talk about more of it. Much love and big ups to you.
Subscribe now and make Ring Kings Boxing your source for all the latest fight news.